Welcome to BNEWS Weekly. I'm Phil Gallagher along with BNEWS Director Rich Hosford, BNEWS reporters Tad Stefanak and Robert Paris, Peter Brown with the weather, Gretchen Carey with Community Calendar, and Gabriel Papilli with the Social Media Minute. Thank you for joining us. A Burlington man was rescued by a private boater after a two-car accident sent his car into the Charles River Tuesday morning. According to the Cambridge Fire Department, the crash happened around 6:30 a.m. on Memorial Drive at the Western Avenue Bridge. Following the crash, the 40-year-old Burlington male's car went through a metal barrier and into the water. The man, identified as Ronaldo Kamers, reportedly broke the sunroof of his vehicle before dragging himself out, where he was picked up by a passing boater. When officers arrived on the scene, they determined that a crash involved a 2018 Ford 350 driven by a 29-year-old Lynn male and a 2013 Subaru Outback driven by the Kamers. He is currently at home recovering from minor injuries. The man had reported having minor injuries. State police said the Lynn male, who reported no injuries, was summoned for failure to stop or yield to oncoming traffic. The cause of the accident remains under investigation. The Burlington Fire Department responded to a vehicle fire on Wednesday afternoon that took a bit of work to extinguish. The vehicle was located in front of Audi Burlington at 62 Cambridge Street. Captain Tim Brown said the call came in at 2:27 from the sole occupant of the vehicle, who was able to extricate herself without injury. Captain Brown said crews had to use a mixture of aqueous film-forming foam and water to battle a blaze that had fully consumed the GMC pickup truck. He said one difficult factor was that the gas line had ruptured and the flames had spread into the streets. As of 3:30 p.m., the fire was out and crews were dealing with the scene of debris. A tow truck had also arrived. Captain Brown commended the team and said it was made more difficult due to the heat, which played a factor in the response. All Massachusetts public school students will be required to wear masks until at least October 1, after a vote by education officials taken Tuesday morning. This week, the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education voted to approve the measure sought by Education Commissioner Jeff Riley for a mandate for all students in kindergarten through grade 12 to wear masks when indoors. Any child 5 years and older falls under the mandate. According to reports, after the 1st of October, the mandate would be lifted for middle and high school students who are vaccinated if 80% of all students and staff in the building have received a vaccination. Any student who has not been vaccinated will be required to wear masks. Any student who cannot wear a mask due to medical conditions or behavioral needs will be exempt from the mandates. In Burlington, Superintendent Eric Conti had already implemented a mask mandate for students while indoors at any school facility. He said the school committee will evaluate the situation at the end of September. The Board of Health is recommending but not mandating people to start wearing face masks while inside public buildings again as cases of COVID-19 tick up. On Tuesday, the board said they would issue an advisory that residents and visitors wear masks while in Burlington businesses, especially if crowds make social distancing difficult. Health Director Susan Luminello said the CDC's latest guidance is for all people, even the vaccinated, to wear masks while indoors in any areas of high or substantial rates of transmission. She noted that according to data from the Mass Department of Public Health, every county in the state has substantial rates of transmission. There was some discussion about the possibility of a mandate for masks in public buildings, as some communities in the state have already done, but members of the board said they didn't feel it was necessary to go that far at this time. However, they did say if the situation worsened, a mandate was a possibility. The board did set up a subcommittee to meet weekly and examine the data for rates of infection and vaccination in town, and to stay up on the situation. They also said if there is a need for a special board meeting to make changes, they would be willing to call for one. There was a National Ataxia Foundation Walk and Roll event on the town common on Saturday, August 21, to raise awareness of the rare neurological disease and help bring in funds for research for treatments and a cure. BNEWS Director Rich Hosford went to check it out and files this report.
There was a good-sized group on the Burlington Town Common on Saturday, August 21st to raise awareness and funds for a little-known disease. It was a National Ataxia Foundation walk and roll to help find a cure for the neurological disease. I spoke to event organizer Doug Place about what ataxia is.
Ataxia is a disease of the brain, and it affects an area of the brain called the cerebellum. So people who have cerebellar issues, they, like me, and these people, they don't walk or talk very well, and they have other issues, but basically it's balance related or coordination.
Events like these happen across the country and play an important role for those suffering from ataxia.
Of course, it raises awareness, and it also raises research money for ataxia.
One organization on hand with a donation was the Burlington Breakfast Rotary Club.
Well, Rich, I have to tell you that our focus is on community service. It's on enriching Burlington. We have a small club. We refer to it as a small but mighty club. And we support as many organizations in town as we can with the resources that we have. And the National Ataxia Foundation is certainly a worthwhile cause. And we've supported it over the years, and we'd like to continue.
Finally, Doug said he was pleased with the turnout at the walk and roll.
It was a great event. It's growing, so we hope that we hope to do this next year, and that will be an opportunity for more people to show up.
From the Town Common, I'm BNews Director Rich Hosford.
The People Helping People Burlington Food Pantry has been making some much-needed improvements thanks to a food security infrastructure grant from the Commonwealth. BNews reporter Tad Stefanak has this look.
The People Helping People Burlington Food Pantry recently received a food security infrastructure grant paid by the state of Massachusetts.
And we were lucky to receive $106,000 to fund some expansions for our food pantry. The money has been mostly spent at this point. The big chunk of money went to purchase a refrigerated truck, which will greatly help with facilitating receiving deliveries, picking up food from donation sites, and bringing food around town to make deliveries to clients. We're hoping eventually to be able to actually add a mobile pantry where we will do little pop-up pantries around town to make it easier to get food out to families in need. One of the other big pieces in the grant was a backup generator, and so we have not received that one yet. It was, unfortunately, with the pandemic, everything is on back order, but we're actually hoping, with a little luck, that the timing, since we're actually hoping to move to a different location, that the timing will be just right and we can just install it in the new location. Everything else are smaller items, so we have been using folding tables, which, takes a beating over time when you're constantly moving them around. So with this grant, we were able to actually invest in solid stainless steel tables, which are much easier to clean. We put them on wheels so that they're easy to move around within the building, and they're counter height so that people aren't bending over, putting strain on their backs, working at these tables for long periods of time. We also were able to add a freezer to increase our cold storage capacity. Actually, with the refrigerated truck, that kind of also works as a flexible extension of our cold storage capacity, because we were able to add a plug so that we can plug it in and run it more or less like a walk-in fridge if we all of a sudden get a big donation that requires cold storage overnight before we can actually get it out to families.
It was through the efforts of People Helping People volunteers that brought the grant to fruition.
We actually had a number of volunteers that were involved. Melanie Gosgarian was the one that brought the grant to our attention. She's sort of been on the side keeping a track of available grants, but it became a team effort. Tracy and Marcia Rich stepped in to help write the grant. A lot of times when we write grants, they're relatively small grants for a small amount of money, and this one was such a much larger task that we put a team together to help.
From the people helping people, Burlington Food Pantry, I'm BNews reporter Tad Stefanak.
Congressman Seth Moulton, who represents Burlington, is facing criticism after he and a fellow congressman, who is also a veteran, took a charter aircraft into Kabul airport in an unannounced visit. According to the Associated Press, Moulton and Representative Peter Maher, a Republican from Michigan, flew into the airport on Tuesday in what State Department and U.S. military officials said were seats on an aircraft that could otherwise have been used to evacuate other Americans or Afghans fleeing the country. The two representatives said in a joint statement that they ensured they were on a flight with empty seats. As for why the congressman went to Afghanistan during an evacuation, they said it was to provide oversight in the official capacity as lawmakers. As members of Congress, we have a duty to provide oversight on the executive branch, they wrote. There is no place in the world right now where oversight matters more. We conducted this visit in secret, speaking about it only after our departure to minimize the risk and disruption to the people on the ground and because we were there to gather information, not to grandstand. They added they also wanted to pressure the president to extend the deadline the military will be in the country working on the evacuation effort. Whatever their reasons, their actions were met with resistance and pushback. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi called the action deadly serious and that leadership does not want members to go to the country. BHS Marching Band is gearing up for a return to performance in the fall and this week held a Friends and Family preview performance in the Burlington High School auditorium. BNews reporter Robert Paris has this look.
On Monday, August 23rd, the Burlington High School Music Department held a special performance from band camp for friends and family at the Fogelberg Auditorium.
Recap of our 2 weeks of band camp and all working on the field as well as musically, and it's all working towards our field show for this fall, which will be competing through NESBA competitions.
With the marching band season kicking off on September 10th, the team is ready to perform in front of an audience, something they have not done in a year.
We are so excited. We're so happy. The kids are together. Morale is high. The kids have just been very responsive and wanting to do the work and wanting to have fun. And that's what we do. We work hard and we play hard.
Everyone will be together as one once again.
I'd have to say the music itself, the show itself, it's called Together as One. And that's really what we're trying to do here, is to show the unity, especially after being unable to have a season due to COVID.
From the Fogelberg Auditorium at Burlington High School, I'm Robert Paris for BNEWS Weekly.
In an effort to mitigate the spread of COVID during the upcoming school year, Burlington Public Schools held a COVID vaccine clinic on Monday, August 23rd at Burlington High School. The clinic was a collaborative effort with Vaccinate RX and Healthcare Family. The Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine was administered, which is currently approved for ages 12 and up. Vaccinate RX is also providing vaccine clinics for school districts in nearby communities, including Lexington, North Reading, Tingsboro, and Greater Lowell. Vaccinate RX will be returning in 3 weeks on Monday, September 13th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. to administer the second dose. The vaccinations are provided free of charge for everyone, regardless of insurance coverage. A Burlington restaurant has been approved to keep outdoor seating initially allowed in response to the economic downturn caused by the pandemic. Tavern in the Square at 100 District Avenue was granted a special permit by the planning board to make an outdoor deck with 56 seats a permanent part of the establishment. This brings the total number of seats in the restaurant up to 420. Attorney Mark Vaughn, representing the restaurant ownership group, said the management has said the extra outdoor seating has been popular among customers as COVID numbers have started to tick back up and people are once again becoming uncomfortable being maskless inside when places are busy. Vaughn said that though the permit does not technically constitute an increase in the total number of seats in the restaurant, Tavern in the Square would not be able to use all the seats available due to staffing and the size of the kitchen. There was some discussion about installation of bollards to protect diners from the possibility of a vehicle veering off Mall Road and striking the deck. Vaughn said that due to the distance, the location of the deck, and the fact that there are existing trees blocking the way, he didn't think safety was an issue. Some members of the board, however, disagreed. Vice Chair William Gaffney pushed hard for planters with bollards hidden inside and said that along with providing additional protection, they could also improve the landscaping. In the end, the permit was approved on the condition that the restaurant work with the planning department and the police department to determine if bollards are necessary and to possibly add planters. Make sure your next trip to the beach is an environmentally friendly as it is fun in the sun. That's the topic of the latest BNEWS Green Corner. Let's check it out.
Lots of people bring picnic lunches to the beach. Problem is there's lots of people and only a few containers usually. And the beach is usually a windy place, certainly windier than the mainland. So when you bring things with you, please plan on bringing them home with you. Carry in, carry out is the best option. And that is because otherwise what happens is everybody puts their leftovers, whether it's trash or recycling, next to the bin, and it gets overwhelmed very quickly. And then what happens is things start to blow away from that container because of the wind. And the next thing you know, the beach is littered, but not just the beach. Those bottles in particular, those soda bottles and water bottles, end up landing in the water. So when you talk about marine plastic, you don't want to be the person who caused that, I'm sure. So please consider bringing everything home with you so that you're not the one overwhelming that container.
In this edition of Who Works for Burlington, our segment highlighting town employees not always featured in the news, we have Conservation Director John Keeley to talk about his department.
In our quest to bring you the stories of town employees not often seen in the news, we bring you the next installment of Who Works for Burlington. Up this time is Conservation Administrator John Keeley, a 19-year veteran of the town of Burlington who came to the town after working in a similar position for 7 years in Wilmington and with previous experience doing stream cleaning in town. He holds an English degree from the University of Notre Dame, but regretted getting out of science, so he went back to school and got a master's in environmental studies from UMass Lowell, where he became interested in conservation. I asked John what he viewed to be the main mission of the Conservation Department, and he said that unlike in some communities with more open space, in Burlington it's mostly about development.
The major function of the Conservation Department, the primary function, is the regulation of construction sites to protect the resource areas, the natural resources in Burlington, either wetland resources, or more recently in the last 10 years or so, we also regulate any land disturbance that creates runoff into the storm drain system, which then goes into the waterways and wetlands.
Some people, John said, are surprised that the department gets involved with projects even if they are not near a source of water.
Just generally from the feedback we get, people don't realize that if a construction project isn't near wetlands, that the Conservation Commission still has a role. Like I said, it's like really like in the last 10 or 15 years, the EPA permit for regulating discharges into the non-sanitary sewer system, the basins in the roadways, the rainwater runoff goes. So the Conservation Department is in charge of regulating all those land disturbances, even far, far from a wetland.
John said that conservation works very closely with the other town departments.
A lot of interaction with building and the planning department, which are obviously on the same floor, which is really great. Also the Board of Health, because we're all reviewing the same projects. We all come at it from a different angle or something, but virtually all these projects that we review are being reviewed by somebody else. If it's a large commercial project, it's being reviewed by all the departments, and we actually have development coordination meetings where all departments get together and talk about the project. But even smaller projects that are just single-family houses, we'll work with the building department. or maybe sometimes the Board of Health if there's a lot of grading involved.
He's also supported by a great team.
So we have 3 permanent members of the Conservation Department. We've got Eileen Coleman is my assistant, and she does the lion's share of all the field inspections. She's really the first person that most people talk to when they come into the office. Lisa works in the office, and she's the administrative assistant. We have seasonal workers. We just last week finished up our summer stream cleaning program, so that's a program that's been going on for 20 plus years, where we send seasonal young people out into the field, and they actually walk through the streams and clean up debris that's blocking the streams.
Finally, John said he is happy to work in Burlington.
I mean, it's part of the reason I've been here so long after working in a couple other towns. Everybody seems to work together really well. Paul's very supportive of the Conservation Department. And in general, the town is very supportive. Whenever we've gone to town meeting for something, whether it's a bylaw change, or in the past we've gone to town meeting looking for to buy land, the town meeting has always been very supportive of conservation.
So now you know who works for Burlington. We'll be back with another edition soon, so stay tuned.
We go now to BNews weatherman Peter Brown to see if we'll get a break from the heat in the week ahead. We'll also check out the community calendar with Gretchen Carey and take a look at this week's Social Media Minute with Gabrielle Papili.
Well, hello everyone. This is Peter Brown with a look at your weather for the next 7 days. Here we are heading into the beginning of September. Meteorological summer ends on Tuesday, and the first day of meteorological fall is on Wednesday, which happens to be September 1st as well. I know it's hard to believe that we are actually heading into September now. The summer has just flown by here. Now, starting out our period on Friday, we're going to be seeing temperatures very summer-like still for this time of the year. We're going to see temperatures in the mid and upper 80s, pretty humid out there, a little bit warmer than average for this time of the year when it should only be around 80 or in the low 80s. That is going to come to a crashing end, though, as we head into the weekend. We're going to see our temperatures dive way down into the upper 60s and upper 70s for most of the weekend. So a big change is on its way in terms of the real hot and humid weather that we've been seeing here the past few weeks. As we round out a period getting into Thursday, again, temperatures around this time of the year should be in the upper 70s to maybe around 80, and it looks like it's going to be pretty much around there, maybe a little bit cooler than that, maybe some chance of some showers here and there this upcoming week. And of course, as you notice, if you're out there in the evening, the days are definitely getting much shorter. Now, as we go ahead, let's take a look at the Climate Prediction Center is calling for us here in the Burlington area in terms of temperatures and precipitation for the next 7 days or so. Looking at the temperature graphic, looks like they're expecting us to have at or slightly above average temperatures. I'm not too sure about that, especially with the much cooler weather we're going to be having to start out our weekend and also to start out the work week. Looks like they're expecting it to warm up a little bit, and that may be possible. We'll have to see if that pans out. Looking at our precipitation chances, again, we're looking at above average chances of precipitation. Nothing new for this summer, that's for certain. And we're going to probably see that pretty much reflected as we see the chance of some showers and thunderstorms off and on here as we go through the period. Now, as we go ahead, let's take a look at those 7 days of weather coming up here in the Burlington area. Again, starting out on Friday, it's going to be a mix of sun and clouds out there, probably some thunderstorms in the afternoon. Very warm, very humid, temperatures way up in the 80s, so a real summertime feel to the air. That is going to be marked by the passage of a pretty strong cold front coming through our area late Friday into early Saturday, knocking our temperatures way down into only the upper 60s and low 70s on Saturday with a wind in off of the ocean. Some cloudy skies as we see that flow coming in off the water, maybe some light showers, and definitely you're probably going to need a light sweater or a sweatshirt out there, especially after us being used to temperatures way up in the 90s the past few weeks and the incredibly high humidity that came with Tropical Storm Henri. As we get into Sunday, temperatures are going to moderate a little bit, keeping the clouds in there. As we start out our work week, looks like things are going to get pretty pleasant again. Looks like we're going to see some breaks of sunshine again, the chance of some spot showers here and there. Temperatures in the low to mid 70s again. As we head towards the end of our period, looks like we're going to see those temperatures warm up a little bit, getting up into the upper 70s to lower 80s, and again, the chance of a spot shower here and there. So nothing crazy out there, looking like a pretty nice start to September. So everyone, get out there, enjoy the weather, and have a great week.
Hey friends, I'm Gabrielle, also known as Miss Burlington MA. I'm here to share with you my posts and pictures from my own social media account and showcase the amazing businesses and things to do in and around Burlington. Kim's Candy Buffet is a local sweets business that will take your next event to a whole new level. Kim does not create your traditional candy treats. She goes above and beyond the status quo when it comes to delivering exceptional and delicious items that cater to your specific event or theme. I am partial to her decadent chocolate-covered Oreos or famous hot cocoa bombs once the weather gets a bit cooler. Whatever your vision, Kim will produce the highest quality looking and tasting sweets.
Hey everyone, I'm Gretchen Carey and this is your community calendar. Get a glimpse at local art. On Thursday, September 2nd at 6 p.m., the Burlington Sculpture Park is unveiling a brand new sculpture. All are welcome to attend this free event. For more information, go to burlingtonsculpturepark.org. It's movie time. On Friday, September 3rd at 8 p.m., the Merrimack Valley Pavilion in Tewksbury is having another movie night presentation. The movie they're showing is The Lion King. Everyone is welcome. To get tickets, go to playatmvp.com. Grab your camera. Now through September 30th, Mass Audubon is having a photo contest that highlights people in nature and captures the beauty of Massachusetts wildlife. For more information, go to massaudubon.org. I'm Gretchen Carey, and that was your community calendar.
Another week, another photo to highlight. This week's photo demonstrates a love of the written word. It's from the Burlington Public Library and shows librarian Kara all loaded up with books to bring them to a book talk at the Sunrise Senior Living and Stonebridge homes. Kara and fellow librarian Marnie bring books to the senior living facilities each month to ensure they all have something new to read. It's a great program from a great library. We'd like to see your photos. They could be of your summer activities, a family trip, or just everyday moments, whatever you think is interesting and want to share. Okay, that's it from the news desk here at BNEWS Weekly. I'm Phil Gallagher, along with Rich Hosford, Robert Paris, Tad Stefanak, Peter Brown, Gretchen Carey, and Gabrielle Papilli. Thank you for joining us.